Our school-wide implementation plan was conducted for the Ellison Preschool, which is a preschool located in an urban area with 150 special education students ages 3 to 5. 25 of these 150 students are nonverbal, which is what we will be focusing our intervention around. In our presentation, we'll be discussing PECS, reinforcement procedures, functional communication training, plan ignoring, and our data collection. Here we have materials that will be needed for the staff. These include things that should already be included in the room, such as tables, chairs, the space, and the toys, and we will be providing the PECS board's data collection pages. Here we have a table of our startup costs, which will indicate the amount required for our various training implementation plans. The first thing that will be conducted is a free operant preference assessment. This will be used to determine what types of stations we will be setting up and what materials will be included. Here we have an example of a data sheet. So up here at the top, you will write in the different toys that are provided, set the timer, and you will place an X or a check mark every time the child interacts with that toy during that time period. At the bottom here, we will calculate the percentages and determine which of the toys are the top 3 that the child is interested in and that can use as potential reinforcers. We will also be using PECS as one of our implementation plans. PECS is a form of alternative and augmentative communication involving the use of pictures and exchanging those with a communicative partner. PECS is broken down into 4 phases, which we will be briefly touching on for the presentation. First, the individual will just exchange one picture. Then they will move to exchanging that one picture across people and across distances. Third, they will be able to discriminate between 2 pictures to determine which they are trying to achieve. Fourth, they will begin to construct simple sentences using I want and the item. As we move into phase 5, the individual will be able to respond to questions such as what do you want? And the final phase is phase 6, where the learner will be able to comment on things they see. I see a bird. I see other things. And all of these phases can be found on the PECS website as noted here. PECS is a form of functional communication training, which is an intervention used to promote the use of communication in individuals that are nonverbal. Functional communication training is implemented through the use of the communication system, which what we chose to use was PECS. The reinforcement procedure that will be used in our implementation plan is positive reinforcement. Positive reinforcement involves adding reinforcement after a behavior that makes that behavior more likely to occur again in the future. So as we see down here in the example, a student receives a sticker after they complete the assignment. So we are positively reinforcing the behavior of completing the assignment with the hopes that this will continue again in the future. Diving in a little further, differential reinforcement occurs when we only reinforce the desired behavior that we are wanting to see. So in an example here, we have a student who engages in screaming behavior. The student screams in class to get the teacher's attention. But what we are going to be doing is as soon as the student raises their hand to request attention, that is the behavior that we are going to be reinforcing with our attention instead of the screaming behavior. This transitions us into planned ignoring. So when the student is screaming, we are going to ignore that behavior and we are not going to provide attention for that. However, as soon as the hand is raised, we're going to provide attention for that behavior because that is the behavior that we want to see in the future. As we see in the bold red letters here, it's important to remember that we are not ignoring the child. So at no point are we turning our backs completely from the child and not acknowledging them. We are simply ignoring the screaming behavior to diminish that behavior and instead encourage hand raising. Specifically, what we will be doing for our intervention is implementing PECS in our classroom using stations. So we will set up 3 stations. Each station will last for 5 minutes. So one total 15-minute session, and the children will be able to engage in these various stations. One may be blocks, one may be arts and crafts. These will be determined by the preference assessment. So each student will be able to take their turns engaging in each station. And here we see that the PECS board will be used. So if a child indicates in any way that they are interested in a toy, the teacher or the paraprofessional will be responsible for prompting the child to go over to the board, pick up the appropriate PECS card, and hand it to the student that they are wanting the toy from. Data collection. So in the field of ABA, data collection is very important. We use it to establish our starting point of where our behaviors are, and it helps us determine whether our intervention is effective or not and whether we really are seeing behavior reduction. So we will be doing momentary time sampling. We find this to be most appropriate for teachers. So what will happen is, let's go to the data collection page. Our stations are divided up into 5 minutes total, but there will be 1-minute timers running. So once the 1-minute timer runs up, the teacher will look up and indicate yes or no, is aggression or tantruming occurring. The timer will reset and they will restart that same session. The data collection for PECS is relatively simple. So as we see here, the learner A will have their initials here, and the teacher will indicate, as we have here, a check or an X, whether they were able to successfully pick up the picture card and successfully reach it across to the student that they are wanting to tell that they want that toy. So an example scenario here is that we'll do the aggression. So the child 1 takes the toy from child 2. Child 2 hits the child. So the teacher will prompt the child by saying hands down, and once the hands are down, she will prompt the child to hand the picture card instead. Presentation contributions are as followed, with contributions of Cora, Madison, Nicole, Julio, and Emily.